I'm producing this video in the spirit of freedom. Anyone who compromises on freedom in any way welcomes slavery. Combining freedom with compromise never results in freedom and always results in the most vicious despotism. The time for compromise is over. If you're willing to compromise on truth, you're willing to throw away innumerable lives. That's how history has worked to this point in time, and if we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it. Jefferson said, "Timid men prefer the calm of despotism to the tempestuous sea of liberty." Samuel Adams said, "If you love wealth greater than liberty, the tranquility of servitude rather than the animating contest of freedom, go from us in peace. We ask not your counsel or your arms. Crouch down and lick the hands which feed you. May your chains set lightly upon you, and may posterity forget that you were our countrymen." Now, you may be tempted to think that Adams was being just a little harsh here and a little bit inflexible. And you're damn right, because that's what freedom demands. Those who would be willing to compromise on your freedoms are your mortal enemies. The reason we're in the shape we're in today is because of indifference, apathy, and compromise. These doctors from California, who a lot of people are saying a lot of good things about and who've gone viral, had a lot of good things to say like this.
Also, at what point, who says what's safe? Are you smart enough to know what's safe for you? Or is the government going to tell you what's safe for you? Who tells you what's... As soon as they use the word safe, that means control. We know what's safe for you. You're too dumb to understand disease, you see. We know what's safe. And so they're going to use this model for different things. We got a bomb threat from China. Everybody stay in their home for 3 months. What? They are using this to see how much of their freedom can they take from you. And will you roll over and stay in your house? And it's working. And if you notice the way Americans are responding, if you go to any gun store in town, guess what they're out of? Ammo. None of them have ammo. I went to 3 of them. They said thousands of rounds have been bought. Why? People are mad. They're starting to post on my Facebook with their AKs going, "Let's roll." So what I'm saying is, let's avoid all that. Because if you stomp on our freedoms, that has one ending, and it's violence.
They rightly point out in this interview that with this heavily propagandized fear porn psychological operation from the narcissistic psychopathic parasites in Washington's District of Criminals and the corporate teleprompter prostitutes of fake stream media, CV-19 produces millions of cases with small amounts of death. And they keep saying this, millions of cases with small amounts of death. And they rightly make this case using the World Health Organization and the CDC's own numbers that the regular seasonal flu is far more deadly than CV-19. They rightly tell us that sheltering in place, wearing a mask, and shutting down businesses for something that is less lethal than the seasonal flu is ludicrous. They're absolutely right. They say all these orders from government and the directives given through mainstream media are actually weakening the immune systems of those who blindly follow the mainstream directives. And they're right again. They make the case that we should have never closed down to begin with. Right again. They basically say everything we've all known since the beginning. This is one big fat lie with an agenda attached. In a roundabout way, they actually say that Fauci is wrong in every single one of his directives in how he handled this fabricated scare tactic. But let me ask you this. How credible is someone and how sound is their message if, after they say all these right things, they follow that up with anti-freedom, pro-pharmaceutical, pro-biotech corporate testing, and pro-tyranny language? If you contaminate the message of liberty by speaking a lot of right things and mixing them with a little bit of wrong things, you actually create an atmosphere where you can do way more damage because the people let their guard down around you and begin promoting you and your contaminated message. And that's exactly what's happened here. These doctors have gone viral in the liberty movement, and their message is one that strengthens, not weakens, the hands of our oppressors. But that's the nature of compromise. So here are the parts in this interview that, from a liberty, anti-tyranny perspective, every freedom lover will not only have a problem with, but despise and reject. Resist the urge to check into the cult of personality. The only choices we have in reality are liberty or death. And when you adulterate liberty in any way, it's death you've chosen. Here are the clips.
From December to now, there was tons of hypotheses. You have to let the data work. Let the virus rise up. Then we study it and we see, did we respond appropriately? Initially, the response, fine, shut it down. But as the data comes across and we say, now wait a second, we've never, ever responded like this in the history of the country. Why are we doing this now?
Translation, initially, the response, fine. Execute economic terrorism against the will of the people. If you have a mind set on liberty, this simple statement makes your blood boil because you know the ramifications of this brand of despotism. And that is hypocrisy as he speaks against his own nod toward, fine, shut it down. Guys, it's never fine to take away people's rights and trample on individual freedoms. Ever. He says a whole bunch of great stuff about the immune system, and then he says that it's time to test people. Why would you test people when we've never done that before, as he rightly pointed out with all these other diseases?
We're not wearing masks. Why is that? Because we understand microbiology, we understand immunology, and we want strong immune systems. I don't want to hide in my home, develop a weak immune system, and then come out and get disease. We have both been in the ER through swine flu and through bird flu. Did we shut down for those? Were they much less dangerous than COVID? Is the flu less dangerous than COVID? Let's look at the death rates. No, it's not. They're similar in prevalence and in death rate. So we are saying that our response now that we know the facts, it's time to get back to work. It's time to test people.
No, it's not time to test people and pad the pockets of the likes of Abbott Labs, Eli Lilly, Johnson & Johnson, and all the other big pharmas that are aligned against you. It's time to leave the people alone and hold the real criminals accountable. Now we have one of the most blatant attacks on individual liberties, where this guy asserts that you're not going to be able to open the economy until you have widespread testing.
25% of patients who have COVID are asymptomatic, which is why we advocate for widespread testing.
We advocate for widespread testing.
In order to open the economy, you have to have widespread testing. That's number one, no question about it.
In order to open the economy, you have to have widespread testing. That's number one, no question about it.
That is being nothing more than an advocate for big pharma, biotech companies, and an advocate for forced testing as a prerequisite criteria that must be met before you can return to work. If this isn't anti-freedom, nothing is.
I had some conclusions, but basically our conclusions are that when I look at the basic tenets that we know of microbiology, and I say, do we need to still shelter in place? Our answer is emphatically no. Do we need businesses to be shut down? Emphatically no.
All right, so far so good. But then we have a reiteration, just in case you doubted what they meant before, of the so-called need to test people before they get back to work.
Do we need to test them and get them back to work? Yes, we do.
Do we need to test them and get them back to work? Yes, we do.
No, we don't. You know why? Because free men don't need permission and they don't need to take a test, and no man or group of men has the authority to allow any other man or group of men to do anything. Period. Now fasten your seatbelts, because they advocate for the idea that there can be good reasons to dance on people's rights.
We need to make sure if you're gonna dance on someone's constitutional rights, you better have a good reason. You better have a really good scientific reason and not just theory.
What the hell did you just say?
If you're going to dance on someone's constitutional rights, you better have a good reason. You better have a really good scientific reason and not just theory.
So if people have a good reason, they have the right to take your rights away? That is the clear voice of an enemy. There is not and never will be in existence any legitimate reasons to take anyone's rights away. Rights are inalienable. They weren't given by men, and they can't be taken away by men. Yes, freedom is dangerous. The only thing infinitely more dangerous is not having it. And the coup de grace to this entire interview was this cherry on top of the tyranny sundae they spent their time constructing.
We're going to work diligently to find a vaccine. And one of the most important things is we need our hospitals back up.
We're going to work diligently to find a vaccine.
We're going to work diligently to find a vaccine.
We're going to work diligently on a vaccine? Who's he going to be working on that with? Inovio? Moderna? Merck? Will he work with Bill Gates? That people are setting these doctors forth as people who are heroes for the liberty movement tells us how far we're willing to compromise on and dilute the message in order to further propagate the illusion of freedom on our plantation of slavery. If you disagree with anything I said in this video, leave your logic-based argument in the comments section below. I'll see you guys in the next heavily censored shadow ban video.